Everyone. So, I think most people must be home having a Father's Day brunch. We're still sleeping. So welcome to those of you that have arrived, and welcome to all of you that are sitting at home watching us. Happy Father's Day! Happy Father's Day! So happy Father's Day to all of the fathers, the grandfathers, the great-grandfathers, single mothers and lesbian couples who are providing both the masculine and the feminine roles, and male father figures who have stepped in when the need arises. Please watch this video.
Daddy. Dada. Daddy. Daddy.
Dad?
Dad?
Daddy.
Dad?
Now, our inspirational reading today comes to us through a video by Reverend David Alt. Please watch the video.
For a moment, every eye sees a petal begin its journey from stem to ground, and in that thimbleful of time, all worry becomes extinct. All futurizing over what might be or what could happen ceases, and the world, in relaxation, unites in the joy of the now. Yes, imagine for a moment there is no worry. For a moment, every inhale welcomes wellness, and the world feels relief from the accompanying pains of disease. The air hums with the sighs of billions expressing their collective relief. Yes, imagine for a moment, there is no pain. For a moment, everybody wins, and the victory circle is electric with the hugs, handshakes, and prayerful bows of authentic acknowledgement. It is the delicious moment when every mind with every heart conceives the truth that there is more than enough for all. Yes, imagine for a moment that everybody wins. For a moment, all are able to forgive everything and everyone from every page of the past, every thought of separation, every grievance and grudge. Brother understands brother, sister their sister, child understands parent, and parent their child. And the world is awash with liberation. Yes, imagine for a moment that all forgive. For a moment there is no hunger, and the bellies of all children and adults are filled with the precise nourishment their body is craving. Food is equally portioned and equally shared, and all races and religions discover that by sharing, one need never suffer from hunger again. Yes, imagine for a moment there is an end to hunger. For a moment, every person, everywhere, is active in their passion, doing what they love. Self-doubt has evaporated, and each heart beats with the rhythm of confidence. Creativity is a sacred act for the soul without concern for recompense or approval. Time and deadline is replaced with being lost in the joy of doing what one loves. Yes, imagine for a moment that everyone is living their passion. For a moment, every conscious thought tilts towards reverent action for the earth. The planet is nurtured and treated with sacred intention. Every ounce of air and water is pure. Pollution is a distant memory, and each inhabitant contributes to unprecedented ecological stability. Yes, imagine for a moment the earth is healed. For a moment, every heart has someone to love and someone who loves them back. For every soul there is a connection, and for every connection there is an appreciative soul. Loyalty, devotion, and respect are as natural and effortless to embody as breathing. Yes, imagine for a moment that true love exists for all. And with each imagined moment linked to the other, we stretch those moments to an occasion, those occasions to hours, those hours into days. And in those collection of days, where the imagination is free to think as big and as grand as it can, we begin to see and feel the shifts. Our planet, our hearts, our passions, our lives. Yes, imagine for a moment everything is expanding and guiding us into a new era of living.
So, good morning. If you've just arrived, the theme of the month of June is Freedom from Discord. And my talk title today is, What's Your Vision? The underlying statement from Ernest Holmes' What We Believe statements is, we see a world in which people have enough food, homes, and a sense of belonging. And the underlying science of mind point of view is systemic issues can only be mastered by articulating a vision. I think I need a little water. Thank you. Sorry, everyone. That all healing begins in the mind. So we see a world in which people have enough homes, enough food, and a sense of belonging. Now, right now, today, as we look out onto the world with our human perceptions, this is probably not the world we see. In 2000, Marianne Williamson wrote a book called Healing the Soul of America. And in it, she posited that if you took the entire world's population and you shrunk it down into a village of 100 people and yet retained all the human ratios that existed at that time, that there would be 57 Asians, 21 Europeans, 14 from the Western Hemisphere, which includes both North and South America, and 8 Africans. That there would be 70 non-white and 30 white people. That 70 would be non-Christian and 30 Christian. That 50% of the entire world's wealth would be held in the hands of 6 people. That 70 would be unable to read. That 50 would suffer from malnutrition. That 80 would live in substandard housing, and there would be only 1 with a college education. Amazing, yes? Now, I'm imagining that 15, 16 years later, that it's not really all that different. That war is still raging across the planet. That crimes committed against others is still happening. that animal species are still endangered, that children are still going to bed hungry, that there are still people that are homeless, and I could go on and on. But the truth is that we cannot continue to look at the problem trying to find solutions at the level of the problem. Throughout time, this is exactly what we've been doing, trying to find the solutions and doing it over and over and over again in the exact same way and getting the same results. More of the same. We cannot change the world by simply moving around the pieces that we see and expect to create something new. We cannot change the world with against energy. The world of form is an effect. It's not the cause. And we have to do the work at the level of the cause. Now this is true not only for us as individuals desiring to change our own lives, but it's also true for all of us collectively on the planet at this time trying to change the world. Marianne Williamson says, the principles that apply to our personal healing apply as well to the healing of the larger world. First, all healing principles are universal because they come from God. And second, there actually is no objective outer world. For what is out there is merely a projection of what's in our minds. The laws of consciousness apply to everything. Anything, when truly seen for what it is and surrendered to the higher mind, begins to self-correct. But what is not looked at is doomed to eternal reenactment for an individual or for a nation or for the planet. So therefore, what we need to do is to look within our consciousness, both individually and collectively. The world's conditions challenge us to look beyond what we see, to look beyond the world of form, to look beyond status quo in order to find the answers, in order to create the solutions. We have to look within to the spiritual power that is within us. Now, Marianne Williamson says a new spiritually based social activism is beginning to assert itself. It stems from not hating what is wrong and trying to fight it, but from loving what could be and making the commitment to bring it forward. So let me repeat that. Not from hating what is wrong and trying to fight it, but from loving what could be and being committed to finding the solutions. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King did this. In the face of all that was wrong in our country, he held his belief before him and committed his life to it. Gandhi did this. In the face of all that was wrong in India, he held his vision before him and worked to bring that vision forward. Derek Rydell, in his book Emergence, says, although an ability to problem solve is considered a good quality to have, it is often an obstacle to the solution. The urge to correct something is a form of resistance to it. And what you resist persists. When you wrestle with a problem, you vibrate at the same frequency as the problem and remain stuck. Problems have symptoms of a particular state of consciousness and will always exist at that level. So having a vision raises us above that level. Our vision raises our vibratory level higher than the vibration level of the problem. Having a vision is acting from where we want to be rather than acting from where we are currently. When we focus on where we're going, on the vision, as though it were already so, then we don't just draw that reality to us, we actually create it. We create it out of this new context. Does that make sense to everybody? Now earlier I said that the underlying science of mind point of view is systemic issues, meaning the issues that are, worldwide, planet-wide. Systemic issues can only be mastered by articulating a vision that all healing begins in mind. Now the Centers for Spiritual Living articulated a vision, right? And that vision is the global vision, a world that works for everyone. And this vision came out of the visioning process. And so what I believe about that is that it is a divine idea in the mind of God. An idea whose time has come. A vision that is seeking to be expressed through each of us individually and collectively. So who do we have to be and what do we have to do to support that vision? Now in the inspirational video by Reverend David Alt, you heard him say, imagine. Imagine for a moment that there is no worry, that there is no pain, that everyone wins, that all forgive, that there is an end to hunger, that everyone is living an inspired life, living their passion, that the earth is healed, and that true love exists for all. Just imagine. And then he goes on to say, and with each imagined moment linked to the other, we stretch those moments to an occasion. And those occasions into hours, and those hours into days. And in those collections of days where the imagination is free to think as big and as grand as it can, we begin to see and feel the shifts. Our planet, our hearts, our passion, our lives, all expanding and guiding us into a new era of living. Doesn't that sound amazing? Doesn't that sound magnificent? So your own wonderful human imagination is actually the creative power of God within you. Your imagination is the power that can allow you to shift out of the circumstances you may now be finding yourself within. You can experience your heart's desire through the use of your imagination, time and time again. Nothing is impossible to your imagination because it contains the allness of possibility. Your imagination is unlimited in what it can do, in what it can accomplish. And if you can imagine something, then you can achieve it. I think sometimes, though, we left our imagination back to when we were children. And we forget about it. We forget that we can use it, that it's how powerful it exactly is. But can you remember a time when you were a young child and you were perhaps playing on the playground during recess? And that Jungle Gym set became a pirate ship. And you became the pirate. You acted out all of the roles of the pirate, walking the way a pirate does, speaking the way a pirate does. Aye, aye, matey. And everyone that came to join you played their role. And they took on the roles of other pirates. And everyone played their part, and everyone experienced it. The next day, maybe that same Jungle Gym set was a spaceship. And for that moment, on that occasion, it was a spaceship, just as on that moment, on that occasion, it was a pirate ship. That our imagination is that powerful that no matter what it looked like to people walking by from the outside, their perception, what are those fools doing on that Jungle Gym set, it was a pirate ship, it was a spaceship for that moment, on that occasion. Perhaps you remember having a tea party in which you had all of your stuffed animals sitting in little chairs around a table in your room. And in front of each one of those little stuffed animals was a little plate and a little teacup. And you filled those teacups with imaginary tea and placed imaginary cakes on those little plates. And you carried on long, elaborate conversations in which everyone was having a really good time. And maybe your mom or dad came to join you. And they folded themselves down upon one of those little tiny seats. And they sipped their imaginary tea out of those little cups. And they ate their imaginary cakes off those little plates. And for that moment, on that occasion, it was real. And everyone enjoyed it. Everyone was present. Everyone could see it. Neville Goddard, in his book Prayer, The Art of Believing, says, imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, and then you believe it to be true. Every dream could be realized by those self-disciplined enough to believe it. Every dream. The Wright brothers imagined a world in which we could fly. And at that time, there was nothing that even remotely said that this was possible. But they could see it in their imagination. And they were self-disciplined enough to believe in it and to create it. And then President John F. Kennedy took it even one step further and said, we will put a man on the moon in 10 years. And at that time, the technology was not in place to do so, but he could see it in his imagination. And was self-disciplined enough to believe it and to support it through the choices that he made and the actions that he took over time to make it happen. The bottom line is that whatever humankind can conceive, humankind can achieve. Imagination is the beginning of creation. When the Centers for Spiritual Living created the global vision of a world that works for everyone, Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, the spiritual director of the Centers for Spiritual Living, said, we know that this vision that is being put forward of a world that works for everyone cannot be encapsulated within anyone's consciousness or idea that they have right now. But what we do know about the state of mind, the state of intelligence, the state of consciousness that each and every one of us has is that when we lay something before us, a dream, a vision, and put it out in front of us, and when we provide ourselves with the faith to know it must become a reality. That everything that is necessary to bring it into fruition automatically happens and it comes into being. This is the power of imagination. This is the power of a vision. Change has to begin with us, within the consciousness of each of us, and it can't be done with the ideas that we've had so far. We need new ideas, new contexts to create from, new visions. That's the only way that change can happen. Now this morning I share with you 3 points that were offered by Reverend David Alt on the practical side of life to assist us in bringing forward all that we can imagine for ourselves and for each other. The first is to imagine the already existing wholeness within ourselves and within the whole of race consciousness on the planet at this time. Far too often we are seduced by taking actions that are fueled energetically by fighting against something. Too often that happens. We may convince ourselves that it's our job to fight for or to fix or to force a change. The truth is that serving from this context does not work, has never worked, will never work. It would behoove us to stand firmly grounded in the truth of our wholeness, of our perfection as spiritual beings, both individually and collectively. To offer our service to the world, to the vision of a world that works for everyone from a place in which we all recognize that it is our responsibility to bring to the imagined state the wholeness that already exists within every situation, no matter whatever the circumstances are saying. No matter what the circumstances are saying. The second is to cultivate the vision. To do this takes practice, dedication, and a singular focus. It is not always easy to do so when our world provides minute-by-minute distractions and contradictions that say otherwise. Many years ago, I stopped listening to and watching the news in general. Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith calls it a weapon of mass distraction. However, I do become aware, although more consciously, right, choosing what I want, but I do become more aware of what I need to be aware of. And I practice finding the presence of God within the situation. What we know is that God is everywhere at all times, or it is nowhere at all. It can't be both. It cannot be both. And so what I believe is that God is everywhere, even in those situations where it doesn't feel like God could possibly be present. And I consciously choose to look for the presence of God, and by doing so, transmute the situation into one of healing. Now, cultivating the vision isn't always easy, and it very often takes time. Think about some of the more systemic issues that have taken a long time. Rights for women, civil rights. All of those things have taken like a really long period of time. That the changes came incrementally. Now, change can happen in one instant, although it more often than not does happen incrementally. So the invitation is to continue to keep our minds singularly focused on the vision. And doing that will, over time, bring about all of our desires. One person at a time, one situation at a time, one relationship at a time. The third is to move into empowered action. Inherent within us is a desire to serve, a desire to support, a desire to assist in bringing forth positive changes in the world. Many of us are drawn to a cause of one kind or another. And in order to move into empowered action, our actions must have pure intent. And what he meant by that is that we are invited not to overlay our opinions and our perception, that we are to serve without agenda. In order to move into more empowered action, we must let our actions be fluid. Be open to the flow of possibility. The solutions that exist in our world need our willing flexibility in order to be experienced. Our rigidity will only block the flow. As always, too rigid, in too much resistance, the flow is just blocked. In order to move into empowered action, we have to let our actions do no harm. We have to let our actions do no harm. So the invitation is to be sensitive to the highest and best for everyone, the highest and best for all concerned, rather than plowing ahead with what appears to be what's best for us. Reverend David Alt says, the lens by which we view the world becomes the world that we experience. To contribute our gifts, talents, service, and pure intent to this massive canvas of humanity requires that we solidify a vision of the world, as already whole, as already harmonious, as already working for the benefit of all. With this developed consciousness, we then enter into actions related to service and reform, not from a place of fighting against, but from revealing God in its ever-present state. So please repeat after me. I am fueled by a vision. Supported by life's surplus. And guided with inherent wisdom. I listen for the call of what's mine to do. And gladly answer the call. And so it is. Amen. So I just invite you to turn within. And as I do so, I am acutely aware of the power and presence of God that is within me and surrounding me. I know that this presence is eternal. I know that it is everywhere at all times, that it is an energy and a power with no circumference and points of center everywhere, and I know that I am one of those points. I know that I was created by it, out of it. And just as I know that this is my truth, I know it is so for each and every person here today, that each of us is a unique and divine expression of it, and ambassador of God on the planet. And it is from this place of unity, this deep connection to everything and everybody, that I speak these words about and for each of us today. Truly knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation. That we are guided and guarded, fueled, funded, supported, and sustained by that which created us. That within us is everything that we need to know to create a life that we love, to create a world that works for everyone. What I claim for each of us today is that we step into that life with ease and with grace. That there is a way of standing firmly grounded in our awareness of our wholeness and creating from that place, not from lack and limitation, but from wholeness, from a vision, from an imagined place, different from how we have done it in the past. What I know and claim for us is that with ease and grace that we are able to cultivate this vision, that we can be singularly focused despite what is going on around us, that we are able to return to center again and again, and to know the truth of ourselves, to know the truth of our situation, that God is everywhere at all times, and that in a moment of stillness, the truth of that comes to us, and that situation can be transmuted. What I know for each of us is that we powerfully step into empowered action, that our intent is pure, that we are open to possibility, and that we do that which is for the highest and best for all. And what I claim is, out of that vision, out of that possibility, out of that imagined state, we all experience something grand, something magnificent, a world that works for everyone. And I'm so grateful to know this truth, so grateful to speak these words, So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes, that they are made whole, perfect, and complete even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and I release them with love and gratitude and expectation of their manifestation, letting go and letting God be God. And I invite each of us to anchor it for ourselves and for each other by simply saying, and so it is. Amen. Amen.